We've done zero prep work for today, by the way. So it's all on you.
3, 2, 1, record.
Hello, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 15 of 2022. I'm Chris Louie, and just got back from sunny and warm Texas. With me, I have my co-host, the Hot Dad, who is still listening to music about moonshine.
Hey everyone, the Hot Dad reporting in on episode 55. Thank you all for coming. Out of curiosity, Chris, did you eat any barbecue and was it good?
So I did not eat barbecue. I ate a lot of steak and I ate a lot of seafood because I was in the eastern part of Texas. They have amazing seafood there, and Texas is also known for amazing steak, so I got both on this trip.
Nice. Did you save any for me?
I'll mail it to you.
All right. Oh, by the way, I have Glenn Boomerang Medina here with me, by the way. He's my twin, or my minion. I'm not too sure.
And we have Glenn Medina in Toasty, Arizona.
Hey everyone. Yes, I'm here in sunny, toasty Phoenix, Arizona, coming to you from the DMT beautiful house. Folks, I have to tell you, if you haven't been to Brian's Lightboard presentation, you really need to. Seeing this studio in person gives you an appreciation for the work he's put in to get this nicely done.
What he's trying to say is it's an eyesore and don't actually look at it. And God forbid, don't get anything on your skin.
I'm sure it's one of those things that you have to be able to see it in person to fully appreciate it, because we've all seen it through Zoom, but I'm sure this thing is a masterpiece in person.
It's kind of like the Mona Lisa, I'm not going to lie.
It's pretty cool.
I've heard the Mona Lisa is the opposite. When you actually see it in person, you're like, wait, that's it? Like, it's much more impressive when you see it, like a replica of it.
Can you imagine if, like, Mona Lisa walked into a modeling agency today? They'd be like, we're not hiring for any janitors. You can leave.
Well, she was never meant to be a model, right? It was like...
No, she was.
The janitor's
I wasn't there, Glenn.
Saying.
I think she was. I think that was Leonardo da Vinci's like ideal portrait of a woman, I believe. Someone can't correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what the Mona Lisa was supposed to be.
That's what the history books told me.
I guess I'm wrong. Have you guys seen the Mona Lisa in person?
I've never been to Europe, so no.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing. I did it a while back. You go up, she's on the wall, not a great big portrait, and it's encased in glass. And they tell everybody, no pictures, and everybody's like taking pictures with flash.
Is it like an 8x10 or is it bigger?
It's probably like a 10x14. It's
dang.
a little bigger. It's maybe bigger than that, but it's a good size.
I always kind of envisioned that it would be like 2 feet by 3 feet, like something massive.
No, it's not as big as that.
Yeah, that's why people are disappointed when they see it in real life. They said they expected it to be what you would like a poster size, but no, it's like it's slightly bigger than a postage stamp.
Yeah, right. It's a Polaroid. Wow, thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's 2 feet 6 inches by 1 foot 9 inches. Not that big.
No guest this week, but we have one booked for next week, so stay tuned. Combined, we have decades of information security experience and are here not just to educate, but to entertain. We've got 4 awesome stories for you this week, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. For our opening topic, since you heard that Glenn is out visiting Brian at his house and you guys are recording together, Glenn, what's one thing about Brian's house that surprised you?
He's got an ice maker. It's pretty cool.
I also have a dishwasher.
No, I take that back. He's got a device that washes your glass right at the sink, and it looks like one of those machines that are sitting at a bar.
Yeah,
that you tip upside down and it cleans your glass. I had to take a picture of it. Yeah, I had to take a picture of it.
You push on and then it sprays up. It's like pressure sensitive.
Yeah.
I've seen that, but it is it above the sink or is it in the sink? Because I would think above the sink would make a huge mess.
It's above the sink, but it washes into the sink.
Yeah, rinses out. It's kind of angled down. It's like, I mean, 1%er problem, right? My $70 piece of plastic that I bought, but I love it.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm sure it's convenient. It's one of those things you never know you need until you actually have it, and then you miss it when you don't have it.
I almost feel like that's one of those TikTok made me buy it moments.
It's a cool feature.
Did you buy it right after you saw it on TikTok?
Probably. I think either my wife or one of my daughters showed it to me. I was like, heck yeah, that's what we need. You know, who needs a soap dispenser when you can automatically wash your mugs?
Yeah, it's convenient, especially if you have like skinny and narrow cups, because the standard brush won't fit in like a dish wand. You have to get like a bottle brush. That's actually why we keep the kids' bottle brush. They don't drink out of a bottle anymore, but we keep it around because we have some mugs that are tall and skinny. You can't get the regular dish wand in there.
Unlike the Medina household, we just use red Solo cups and just throw them away at the end of the week. So
Yeah, that and Old English 40s everywhere.
Greta does not approve of your use of single-use plastics.
No, I did say we throw them away at the end of the week.
So you wash them?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm just kidding. We don't do that.
Like, that defeats the purpose if you're going to be washing the red Solo cup.
But think about like all the effort that goes into making a Solo cup, right? We're going to get oil out of the ground, transport it somewhere, process it, make this cup, and then you take a shot and throw it in the garbage. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, a lot of states and municipalities are trying to ban those single-use type plastics. I know in my city, we ban plastic straws. The airport near me has banned plastic water bottles. You can only have glass or aluminum, which is sort of ironic because if you want to recycle glass, it takes more energy to recycle a glass bottle than to make a new one from scratch.
I remember right before the COVID shutdown, traveling in California, like everywhere I went, there was Teslas, right? And then if I had to throw something away, I had to make this executive decision: is it the black garbage can, or the blue one, or the green one, and sometimes red. I was just confused. I've never seen it before. And then one of my last trips was actually out to Texas, and not one Tesla in sight. By the way, like I think I was in Dallas, and it was just nothing but lifted Ford F-150s and a single garbage can, just black ones. Throw it all in there. They didn't care. There's no recycling going on in Texas.
That's going to change soon because they just built and completed the Tesla
Gigafactory.
Gigafactory, yep. Yeah, and they're moving their headquarters there too, so you'll probably be seeing more, I would guess.
What city is it actually in, though?
I think Austin.
Austin.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I was all disappointed. I went to Austin. I was like, oh man, I'm going to see a bunch of this cowboys and horses everywhere. And then, nope, nothing like that. It's a melting pot for all races. It was not anything different that I've ever seen.
Well, if you talk to everybody else in Texas, Austin is the donut hole of liberalism in all of Texas.
The donut hole? What does that mean?
I mean, it's the only spot in Texas that's very liberal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
mean
it's the
toilet
capital,
bowl?
and that's where a lot of California transplants move. So Austin actually is a good place to get barbecue if you're ever in Austin. Salt Lick Barbecue, amazing barbecue, and then I'm sure there's some other places some locals can recommend, but that's the one I know of is Salt Lick Barbecue out in
That's
Austin.
if you can get in, right?
Yeah, if you can get in, and then I think they're cash only, but it's BYOB. You can bring your own beer if you want.
Yeah, Franklin's is just as good, and they open at like 10 or 11, and then they're closed by 2 or 3 because they run out of food.
Yeah, we have a place by here too. It says we close at 4 or whenever we run out of food, and sure enough, by like 1 o'clock, they're always closed.
What a great problem to have.
Just order more food, right? That's the solution. Just order more food, expand the kitchen. Yeah, I don't know why some of these places are like that, unless they like the exclusivity of it.
Well, then they have waste, because what happens if they don't sell out?
Well, if your food only lasts half a day, you can order 50% more. You don't have to order twice as much, and you'd still probably be fine. But unless they're trying to keep the exclusivity and
Could be.
Freaking Mr. Supply and Demand over here.
I know. I bet you, Chris, if we come up with a Gantt chart or some kind of chart to give to the barbecue places, we can increase their sales. We may be onto something.
Yeah, I'll just take 50% of their increased profits, and yeah, we'll streamline their supply chain.
There you go.
All I know is I didn't know how bad barbecue sauce was for you until I made my first one. I was like, all right, first ingredient, 3 cups of sugar. Wait a second, this doesn't sound right.
It does sound
then
right.
they add
That's why it's so
molasses.
sweet.
Yeah, I was like, holy smokes.
All right, for our first topic, we all knew it was bound to happen. A video of Ukrainian President Zelensky has surfaced online asking the Ukrainian armed forces and the resistance to lay down their arms and surrender to the Russian army. Now, of course, this did not actually happen, and the video posted online was a deepfake video using AI to make it appear legitimate. I have not personally seen the video, but from what I heard, it is not convincing if you take the time to look at it to check and see if it actually is legitimate or not. If you're watching it on a smartphone with a 2G cellular connection at low resolution, you might actually be convinced. This also goes into a deeper discussion we talked about on the last podcast about how the war in Ukraine is the first war that's really demonstrating the uses of open source intelligence, or OSINT gathering. Russia is using Google Maps to find where the roads with the heaviest traffic are. Civilians are using their cell phones and posting videos and pictures of Russian troop movements. Internet sleuths are accessing logs for the Suez Canal and the Strait of Gibraltar to monitor naval ship movement and the like. The Russian army allegedly took away its troops' cell phones, and their navy painted over ship numbers to make it harder for them to track. I'm pretty sure that at least that last one is against some type of treaty of being able to quickly identify military vessels. We're also receiving reports of alleged war crimes committed by Russia, such as civilian executions, and cell phone videos are being taken to document it.
It's kind of a weird line, right? Like, we're talking about deep fakes and crazy low resolution, but at the same time, it's like, this is like a legitimate military force coming through, and they are trying to do nefarious, really bad things. And the scary part about it is, I believe Russia doesn't necessarily want to carpet bomb everything, because they just want to kind of take over and invest a bunch of troops over there and to do their thing. So they have to think out of the box, right? If you just start blowing up everything, that's just all the stuff you have to replace some point down the road. Kudos to them, but I think you have to try a little bit harder on the resolution or the deep fakes. I'll tell you what, don't even ask why, but I was watching some like Muslim based cartoons for kids on how to be the best Muslim. Phenomenal. Like the graphics and everything was amazing. Like it was insane.
I think they need to go enlist who's that, Industrial Light and Magic, to create these deep fakes for them. So,
is that the actual company name?
Yeah, that's the Lucas Studios.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hey, did you guys see any of those videos? It is pretty bad.
You saw the
quality?
Yeah, the quality is terrible.
I'm sure it's some guy doing it in his basement. Like, if the Russian propaganda arm actually got involved in this, I bet they can make something that looks legitimate.
What's interesting is, if you flip it in reverse, because, the international community is highly upset about the war crimes against the civilians, and Putin on the other side of the reverse is saying that those are fake videos of war crimes being committed by Russian soldiers.
That's very true. Yeah. I think they showed, I saw a clip of like all the, like gymnasium full of dead bodies, right? And they had like sheets covered over them. And as they were panning off, one of the sheets got up and walked away. I was like, all right, wait a second. Like, this is real or not? Like, it's so weird. Like, if you're going to do deepfake, don't show the very end. Like, they don't spoil. It's like coming to my house after seeing Lightboard videos. Like, it looks amazing until you see it in person. Then you just want to kind of throw up in your mouth. It's not that cool.
See how the sausage is made, yeah. Yeah, there was a video of alleged Ukrainian soldiers committing atrocities against Russian soldiers. And then, Ukraine said, we'll get to the bottom of this. We don't think this is legitimate. We're going to investigate it anyway. And then someone did like a frame-by-frame analysis that said, some guy's left knee was bandaged and bleeding, but he was grabbing his right knee. And they said the type of blood that was used, it looks like, the movie kind of blood. This isn't how blood, like real-life blood works. So, yeah, there's a lot of propaganda and misinformation on both sides here for sure.
So if I was
more on the Russian side, I guess.
If I was on the Ukraine side, I think all bets are off. I don't think there's anything that I would do to like abide by any type of rule or regulation. I think it's just like, I just had to bite his nose off, right? Like, he was in my house. What do you want me to do? Or headbutting, or torture somebody, like whatever it takes. Like, you're in my territory now. I think I don't really care. If I'm there to protect myself, that's different than if I'm invading.
All right, for our second topic, this was an interesting one when I heard about it, and the Lapsus crew brought this issue to light. So the Lapsus is that ransomware crew that allegedly hacked Okta, Microsoft, and NVIDIA and the like. So law enforcement agencies and governments have the ability to request what's called an emergency search warrant from online providers such as Snapchat, Facebook, Apple, and Google. Just like in real life, if someone calls 911 here in the US and threatens to harm themselves or harm someone else, the police can enter a residence without a warrant in exigent circumstances such as imminent harm. Similarly, if someone on Facebook Live is threatening to hurt someone or hurt themselves, the police department can contact Facebook to get the user's IP address, then ask the ISP for the user's physical address, and if there's exigent circumstances, a lot of times a search warrant is not needed. Well, criminals are catching on to this and using these emergency search warrants to gain unauthorized access to people's location data and their account information. The problem is that police departments and government officials are getting their accounts phished, and there's no standard body to figure out if the request is legitimate or not. So the scam works like this. One of these phishing crews or ransomware crews will phish into a police department, steal somebody's login, and then start sending emails from the official police department or the official government agency to Facebook and says, Brian Deitch has posted something online. He says he's going to hurt some people. I need to find out where he is right now. I need to find out what he's posted in the last 5 days. And a lot of times these online services will comply with that request and then hand over the information without verifying that the person asking for it is who they say they are. Just like I said, there's no standard way of verifying if this request is legitimate or not. Those hacker crews can then take that information, find out where Brian is, and Brian's actually innocent in all this because he hasn't posted anything of the sort, but now they know where he is and they've gained access to his account.
Do you really think that Facebook would respond to Brian Deitch at Miami, Arizona, police department.org? Like, do they have any type of checks and balances to even check the source? It feels to me like that. Forget phishing anything. I think I could just, if they're going to just trust the source, then I just make up anything and come in.
Yeah, that's a good question. I know that like Facebook and Google and Apple, so these more mature organizations, they have formal legal processes you can go through, especially for emergency search warrants and the like. But I know for my municipality, they're a .org. So even our police department is Officer Brown at city.org. So we're not actually even a .gov. So I don't know how they would know that this .org is a legitimate .org.
This is a huge problem, especially because I've actually done a significant amount of work for not in the past 20 years, but when I used to go around and do IT work for police stations, it was you talk to him all right, I need to do this. What's the password? It's password. And then you're just going to find out that it's password for everybody. They have to make it the officers have zero interest in learning on how to do security correctly. And so there's a tremendous effort of how do you ramp these people up? How do you do security correctly? Phishing is one problem, but you have other issues, right? Get one password, get them all. That's terrifying.
Yeah. That, if you look at it from the standpoint of being able to identify individuals and then take that for, it'd almost be wondering how quickly can someone like Facebook or WhatsApp respond to this imminent threat? Is it 4 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours?
True. What do you get out of it, right? So you contact Facebook, you get my IP address, then you get an IP, but then you have to reach out to Cox Communications to figure out the location. And now you know where my home address is. You're just going to sign me up for spam emails and actual physical, stuff that comes through the U.S. Postal Service.
They can harass you. They can send hundreds of pizzas to your house. That's a famous thing that
I would
online
love that.
harassment.
Anybody want to do it? 40. Just kidding.
The other side of it, I mean, that's kind of old, right? This is kind of version 2, because I could have swore there was swatting before. Do you remember that?
Yeah. So that's the other thing I was going to say. So first, the less harmful way is pizzas. They'll send pizzas, and they're not prepaid. So then you got to send the pizza guy away, and the restaurant loses money. There's the priority mail box trick, where someone will send thousands of these priority mail boxes to your house. And then the worst of them all is the swatting, where they'll pretend like a crime is occurring now. They'll send the SWAT team, and people have gotten killed over these swatting incidents.
That is not cool, but we should try it.
Yeah, let's not try that or suggest people that try that because
1, 2, 3,
people
not
have
it.
people have gotten major jail time for the swatting and the bomb threats when they were false.
Did they catch him? I don't remember seeing anything on that.
Yeah, so there are two famous incidents. One was the rather large man that had the handle at Tennessee. He got swatted. He died of a heart attack. And then there's just this random innocent guy. Two guys were fighting on Xbox Live. Of course, it was Xbox Live. And they said, yeah, come at me, bro. I live at 123 Main Street. And then the guy swats the guy at 123 Main Street. And that guy's not even involved. He gave some random address. And the police thought he was a threat and killed him. He wasn't armed or anything. He was just very confused at why the police was there. I think in both cases, they caught the guy. He got something like, I want to say at least 20 years in prison for that. I'll have to look up exact his sentence.
My wife and kids are eating free. If I die because some idiot gets my house swatted and I die.
Well, who's responsible? Is that the police? Is that the guy, the individual? What if that individual's broke? Like, how do you get money out of that guy?
Isn't the rule of thumb is always the police's fault nowadays? Just kidding. I mean, there's some type of liability, but it's the dude that initiated the SWAT at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's like kind of like that whole knock, right? How did they validate who they're going to is actually a bad person?
True. Although they have to have tools at this point. Just pull up in a van and just like, oh, it looks like he's watching Friends reruns again, guys. But let's knock on the door, go in peacefully.
Yeah, that actually happened to a YouTuber that I follow. So he got swatted. His address has been out there. If you're online, it's very difficult to protect your address, especially if you buy a house. That's all public record. You try to do it through trust and stuff. But people on YouTube, if they want to find your address, they will. And they basically made up a story. They used this VoIP service so they can't trace it and called the emergency line for that town. And the police department says, I just killed my wife. I have the kids in the bathtub. If you guys come in, I'm going to kill them too. And then the SWAT team came out, surrounded the house, and then they were monitoring the situation. They saw this guy like get out of his bedroom, go to the bathroom, go back to the bedroom, and then you saw him go downstairs and pour a bowl of cornflakes. And like, this doesn't seem like normal behavior of a guy that just allegedly killed his wife and is threatening to kill the kids. So they knew something was up.
Yeah.
Was it they had infrared to see what this guy was doing?
Or he had his curtains open or something.
Or he's just a really terrifying sociopath, right? He's like, before I knock off the kids, I got to eat my cornflakes first, team.
His Hannibal.
Oh, man.
Hannibal
I worked up an appetite. I'll just kill him. He's got my juices flowing. The mental health stuff, that's the thing that freaks me out the most about people. And having seen people actually suffer from it is just so wild. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And I think probably the most painful part of it, if it's someone that you love, like you don't have any, like I'm a fixer. I think you guys are probably fixers in the house, right? Like anything's going on, we want to put a Band-Aid on it, but you can't do it. And it's just like, it's probably like the most helpless feeling that I have as a family member.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, my kids come home and they're having problems with friends or boys or whatnot. And I sit there and I just stay quiet because I want to tell them how I would fix it. But at the end, it's like I'm better off just staying quiet.
It's just one of those things. Yeah, if they want help, they'll ask for it. But a lot of times, people just want to vent.
And that's why my wife is so good, because she's a great listener. And she'll listen, and I'll sit there and I'll just bite my tongue, and the kids will walk away, and I'll look at my wife and I say, "Why'd you just tell them something?" She goes, "Because they just want you to listen."
Yep, just want to be heard.
For all you men out there, sometimes our wives just want to be heard.
Yes.
You don't have to fix it. I have to remind myself of that a lot. But I think one of my biggest fears as a dad is like, I don't want my kids to make the same mistakes that I did. And you do your best to try to shape them with it. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to make their own mistakes, and you have to be okay with it.
Yeah. They need to scrape their knees. They need to bump their head. They need to stick their finger in a light socket. Not that I'm condoning that, but they need to go through these things in order to realize that's not what you should be doing.
Yeah, just know that they have a place to come back to when they need to.
Yeah.
There's a book. Oh, we already talked about that one book. It was like the top 100 most dangerous things that you should let your kids
Oh,
do. Yeah.
It was called Dumb Things You Should Allow Your Kids to Do or something.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend.
All right. The next story on the Love Line is the Yandex Food, a food delivery app operating in Russia similar to DoorDash or Uber Eats here in the US, was the subject of a major data leak, which the company confirmed back on March 1st. At the time, the subsidiary of tech giant Yandex, that's similar to Alphabet or Google here in the US, said that the phone numbers and customer information about orders were published online, with the data including the composition of orders, delivery times, and other information. Now, if my enemy learns that I like my beef lo mein extra spicy, and I tend to order on Saturday nights, no big deal, right? However, researchers believe they found one person linked to the poisoning of Alexei Navalny, the Russian opposition leader, because the alleged poisoner used his work email address to register on the food delivery service. Searches for the Russian GRU's headquarters, their country foreign military intelligence service, similar to like the CIA we have here in the US, they found 4 results for their headquarters. And the FSB, their Federal Security Service Special Operations Center in Moscow, had 20 results. The records for the latter include unusual instructions for the driver, such as passing certain boom barriers, certain checkpoints, or calling before their arrival. So good job, Russian intelligence, although I can't exactly call the kettle black in this case because we had plenty of FBI and government officials use their work email address to register for Ashley Madison, the infidelity dating site, as we saw in that data leak. Another record was found to be an order placed by someone at an apartment supposedly occupied by a secret daughter and ex-mistress of Russian President Vladimir Putin.
So is she still okay then?
I don't know, Brian. Why don't you go there and check it out?
Yeah, I'll put that on my to-do list. And by the way, who's Alexei? I don't even know who that is. Is that someone that we should know about?
Yeah, he was the Russian opposition leader that they tried to poison. So he's very anti-Putin, very vocal critic of him. Putin tried to have him knocked off. I think they poisoned him, and he survived. I think it was him
jail,
and his daughter. I don't know if he's the one that's in jail. Well, I don't know. I lose track of the opposition leaders that were poisoned by Putin. One of them's in jail. One of them is out, but he got poisoned along with his daughter.
Was Alexei, was he in Russia or outside of Russia?
Good question. Let's see.
By the way, I would think that, like, was it Yandex is the thing that was breached? I have a feeling that, like, like Facebook knows everything about us, right? Like our, food preferences, this, that, and the other thing. There was probably like a couple columns there where it was like, for every single man, it was tracksuits and cheap cologne were the most common thing found amongst Russian men.
In their order history.
Yeah. But this does kind of scare me. Maybe I'm not going to do Uber Eats anymore. But now everything comes sealed. Maybe they have to like...
Yeah, but you don't know if they just get their own stickers and reseal.
Yeah, so supply chain attacks.
Yeah. We did it, Joe. Well, when it comes down to being creative, I'll give them, 5 Shroot bucks for this one. That was a good one.
Yeah, they don't know who hacked the service. The data got published online. There's no one that paid for it. They just wanted to post this data online. Russia tried really, really hard to take it offline, but as you know, once something is posted out on the internet, it's there forever.
Did they drop it in like Pastebin or what?
I don't know if it's Pastebin. It's either Tor or a BitTorrent, like a torrent, because torrent you can't take down, that's peer-to-peer, and then Tor is notoriously hard to take down because you don't know where the actual servers are.
What's the most common thing nowadays? Is it Tor then?
For ransomware crews, yes. Their leak sites are mainly through Tor. For things like WikiLeaks, like if you have information that the government wants to try to take down, then BitTorrent is usually the way to go. But for a lot of the crimeware, it's Tor nowadays.
So I'll be honest with you guys. I've never used Tor. I've had it described to me as just like the internet without a condom. So I'm like, I don't know if I want anything to do with that. Are you guys hanging out much on Tor?
Not I.
Not I. How about you, Chris?
So I actually went to a talk at Black Hat. The last Black Hat I went to, I forgot it might have been 2018. And they said, like, the talk was centered around, the top 5 myths of Tor. So Tor is actually a service. It's funded by the U.S. State Department, actually. So it's a way for people in tyrannical countries to get access to information. So if I'm in China, I want to look up the Tiananmen Square. That's the only way to do it. Although the Great Firewall blocks Tor, but let's say I'm in another country that's not as technically sophisticated, you can use that as a way to get information. So that's the purpose of Tor. Yeah, it's a democracy engine.
Well, that's what it was meant for.
Yeah.
What it's actually used for is a totally different thing.
Yeah, it's sort of like cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, peer-to-peer transactions, that's a good thing. But with everything that comes good, even encryption, encryption's a good thing. But if it's used for nefarious purposes, then that's where you get into that whole dual-use technology. Is this a net good or a net bad? I think having Tor is a net good. It's very privacy-centric, but it does protect a lot of bad people.
It reminds me, like when we talk about the path of consequences or intended use. Like my high school guidance counselor was like, he, highly talented, but, chooses to use his ways in, somewhat questionable manners, I think is what the guidance was there. Applies himself inappropriately. Yeah.
That's not good. Look the other way, Brian. Here's the Snickers bar.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you can host a website that cannot get taken down, that's good for political dissidents. Like if I'm in North Korea and I want to learn what's the truth about North Korea, that's a good place to put it, because North Korea will have a very hard time taking it down. But similarly, if I want to host a dark web marketplace, something like Silk Road, it's really hard for law enforcement to figure out where it is. Although this week the Hydra marketplace did get taken down by German authorities, so good on them for taking that down.
How did they accomplish that?
I saw the headline fly by when I was on my trip. I need to dig into that one a little bit more. What usually gets people is it's bad OPSEC. They forget to turn on their VPN. They access this server from their actual IP address instead of going through a VPN, or it's usually some kind of slip up.
Well, as a throwback to one of my most recent LinkedIn posts, one of the best things about Tor is that you can claim credit for things you had no part in it. It's one of the reasons why I created it.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah.
All right, for our last topic, and it will be a rotating topic every week. This week, I pose the question, what is a severely out-of-date technology that you're still forced to use regularly? So I'll go as I give my co-host time to think about it. For me, it's the fax machine. Analog, insecure, are you kidding me? A few years ago when my uncle passed away, he lived about 2 hours away from me, and I was handling his affairs since he didn't have a wife or children, and I needed a copy of his death certificate for practically anything, like turning off his cell phone line, disconnecting his cable, handling stuff with the bank. The funeral home obtained the copies of the death certificate, and I requested a digital copy so I could get started, and they said they could only fax it to me. They didn't have a scanner to PDF it over to me or email it to me, much less using things like secure email or an encrypted cloud storage service. My doctor is the same way, but slowly modernizing. So if they're part of the same record-keeping system or network, everything's done electronically. But if they're not, they have to use fax for the results or lab orders or anything like that.
Right now, all of our younger listeners are Googling FACTS. Like, what's a fax? I actually had to fax something not too recently ago. Oh, it was actually for my mother-in-law when we were trying to get hospice and stuff. And they're like, yeah, you can fax it back to us. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to fax anything. Like, I don't even know where I can find a fax machine.
It's cost me more money to fax.
Yeah. I ended up having to drive to like a UPS or something and fax it. And then eventually it got there. Like, I know it was there. I got the confirmation page, but they didn't acknowledge it for weeks.
You would think they would like, hey, everyone has an email address. Can I scan this and email it to you?
Yeah.
How is that not different and if not more secure than a fax machine?
Yeah,
and quality wise as well.
Maybe we can start fax bombing.
Yeah, analog. It's easy to intercept. It's not encrypted most of the time.
Yeah, and the quality's terrible.
So Chris, do you actually have a fax machine at your house?
So I do not have a fax machine. I use an online fax service for when I need it.
Freaking Glenn says he has one. Do you have a landline too?
So I did until about 2 years ago. So I turned the landline off and I went to a voice over IP system at home.
Okay.
But it doesn't allow faxes.
Man, I think I read about you in my history books. Like you're somewhere in between hunters and gatherers. Wow,
Well,
Glenn, you're so old.
My kids are in college and they still use fax machines to send information over. Yeah.
I feel like you'd have an incredibly difficult time explaining like Bitcoin to somebody.
Yeah. I do.
Just call it magic internet money. That's
right.
good enough.
It's the magic beans.
Yeah, for real. Do you have anything that's antiquated that you still leverage, Glenn?
Yeah. How about a pen and a pencil? Why do I still need a pen and pencil when I carry my phone with me everywhere I go?
That's true. I use a pen and pencil all the time, but it's only because...
Yeah, you're using one right now, aren't you, Brian?
Yeah. I have to, and it's like this really wild... It's not even wild. I think it was like a $10 pencil. Click one, right? They got off Amazon. I love this thing. My son loves it too. He has one, but he actually used his to the point where it actually started falling apart. I just had to get him a new one, but it was like 5 years old.
But why do we continue to use it when we have laptops, iPads, phones, all these things that we can digitally log someone?
Well, because then Chris would hear all my click-clacking as I'm taking notes of thinking of clever things to say in the podcast right now. That's the number one reason.
I guess so.
Or if I'm sharing like my entire screen and I don't want people to know, I'm like, all right, this dude is stupid. Like I don't want to put it on there. Like definitely.
But you would send that over a Slack message or within an internal chat.
It depends, right? Like if they know I'm being funny, but I'm definitely gonna say that anything nefarious to get me promoted a customer ever. Although I don't think I would actually do that. That actually put my job at risk.
Yeah,
just keep the inside thoughts to yourself, Brian.
That's hard to do,
Good
Brian.
tip. Yeah, the reason you use pen and paper is nobody can hack it. If you need something that no one hacks, use pen and paper.
That's not true. You could take a picture of pen to paper.
So I
could, but yeah, I mean, it's like if I have to keep like, let's say I'm a crooked accountant or I'm an accountant for the mob. Like I'm not going to store that in OneDrive. I'm going to keep a pen, like a paper ledger in my safe.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys, we all travel. So in the hotel room, there's typically a notepad and a pen.
Yeah.
Well, I like to take my pencil and I like to just like rub the lead to see what people wrote
see
before
what the
me.
last person wrote.
Yeah. Have you seen mine? I wrote it there for you. It says, your hobby is stupid.
Sorry. OBSEC. OBSEC.
Do you guys ever go into a hotel room and open up the Bible and there's like $100 in there for you?
No, but I do
That's an
look
urban
underneath.
legend, isn't it?
I'm like 0 for 6,000, so I haven't found any money.
I do look underneath the mattress, like to see if there's anything inside there. I think one time I saw a $20 bill.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Good for you.
I've seen some sketchy stuff behind a bed before.
I didn't say behind the bed.
Yeah.
I said between the mattress and the bed.
Yeah. I'll check for bed bugs, though.
Yeah.
That's a real life threat right there.
Do you guys look online before you check in the hotel to see how many bed bugs incidences they have?
Is there a website for
Yeah.
that? Oh, no, I had no idea.
New York is
You'll have to
notoriously...
send it to me, Glenn.
Okay.
I'll link it in the show notes for our readers. I didn't know that was a service either.
Yeah, you got it.
Bed bugs avoidance as a service, right? Something like that. So I'm trying to think of anything that's old that I still use. Probably toilet paper, right? Like there's better ways of washing your butt, but it gets the job done.
All right. Well, we continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week. This week, Glenn is up.
In the spirit of spring break, where does sheep go?
Sheep?
Yeah.
Where?
The Bahamas.
Wah, 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 wah. All right, to wrap things up, deep fakes are showing up in the Russia-Ukraine war. Fake emergency search warrants are a threat to privacy. We know what type of food the Russian GRU and FSB like to eat. And we're still using fax machines even though we don't need to. That's all we have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. You can find us all on LinkedIn. Links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you to all our listeners and subscribers who rated us 5 stars in the iTunes Store and Spotify and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is to search for the PEBCAK Podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. For my co-hosts Brian Deach and Glenn Medina, I'm Chris Louie. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all next week, and as always, have a nice day.
Peace.
To the moon, Alice.
Have a nice day.